Hey guys, how y'all doing? BionicleSaurus here, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at this, the 2018 Safari Ltd. Ankylosaurus. This figure really is an instant classic and fan favorite. It seems pretty much unanimously loved, and it's already gotten a lot of reviews made for it. Nonetheless, I'm quite excited to put out my own thoughts on it. So without further ado, let's get into this fantastically well-made figure and what is, in my opinion, the best Ankylosaurus model on the market today. If there's one thing this figure does exceedingly well, I mean, it does a lot of things very well, but the thing that really stands out about it to me is the detail, specifically the detail of the sculpt. Now, I know I pretty much sound like a broken record at this point. I give this compliment to so many figures, especially by Safari, but for me, this figure doesn't just hold up to Safari's current standards of sculpted detail, it truly goes above and beyond them. This has to be some of Doug Watson's best work, if not his best work, with sculpted scalation specifically. Let's just go straight to a close-up so we can get a better look at it. Just look at that. How incredible is that? It's so crisp. There is not a single blank spot or muddled spot that I can find anyway. This is just beautiful. It's just incredible to look at. I can only imagine how much time goes into this. You know, at first, you might think, okay, well, he's got to use a tool, right? Something to sort of put this pattern in, but I really think these are truly individually sculpted, because if you look at even the smallest little scales here, each one is unique. They're all coming in at different angles. He probably uses some kind of tool to aid him with this. I doubt he makes every single scale with his bare hands and places it on there or something akin to that, but nonetheless, so much detail, so much minute nuance and just added depth and realism. Every little scale is accounted for, and just, look at these periodically placed little bumpy scales sticking out. That looks so nice. The actual large scoots, large bony pieces of armor are so well done, accurately placed for what we know at this time. So many Ankylosaur figures, as some of you probably know, I don't know how common this knowledge is, but most Ankylosaur figures are actually based off of Euoplocephalus. I can't even remember why, there's some explanation for it, but very few Ankylosaur figures actually show the armament and ornamentation of the animal correctly, and this one is by far the most accurate one I've seen. Another fantastic accuracy is just how wide it is. I guess you'll see that a little better in some other wide shots, but it's girthy, that's for sure, and that's good because so many Ankylosaur figures are actually a lot thinner than they should be. That's a common mistake that companies tend to make, and this one gets that perfect. The head sculpt is fantastically detailed as well. The eye pops out with a nice orange color, so the paint is on point as well. There's even a bit of mouth interior detail. The beak is well sculpted, the nostrils, the ears are accounted for. Oh my gosh, just look at this. Look at the front feet. There's not a single part of this that has been forgotten about. Even the bottoms of the feet have individually sculpted scales on them. That is insane. We have a cloaca included. The one little issue I found on mine is there's a bunch of like excess paint running down this leg. It's sort of connected some of the scales, as you can see. But, I mean, this is the only quality control issue of that sort of type that I've seen on any Safari figure pretty much ever. So I really wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure this is just something that happened on mine. All in all, this is just pure and simple eye candy. I can't stop looking at it. Can you stop looking at it? Look at how beautiful that is. I just keep inspecting it, looking at every little part. It's all so well sculpted. The sculpted detail is just, it's immense. It really is. It's tiny, but it's immense as a combined whole, as an aspect of the way this figure looks. It just, it's gorgeous. So much time and effort and just thought and care has to go into making something like this. I can't even imagine. The quality is just out of this world. Now, I don't think anybody is disputing just how good the sculpt of this figure is, but I have heard some people complain about the paint job. The main complaint I've heard is that it's a little bit cartoony. They're not bright colors, but the way it's all applied, the colors are pretty, very strictly separated. There's not a whole lot of blending or flowing going on with the paint job, I will admit that. Personally, though, I really like this. It looks very sharp and very clean. maybe a more naturalistic type of paint job with more focus on dry brushing and staining would be neat, although we do get actually quite a bit of that on the head, and there's actually a bit of a wash or perhaps a dry brushing of brown across all of the yellow areas, which you can't really see in the stock photos, but it is there and it adds a tremendous amount of depth and nuance to the whole thing. But nonetheless, I really like it. I like this yellow color. I like the contrast of it all. It has a really sharp, really eye-catching, striking contrast of different brightness levels and different color tones. We have this very golden yellow with this really pleasing shade of brown and basically pure black for the scalation on the back underneath most of the larger pieces of armor. I mean, I can see where people are coming from. I understand where the complaint lies, but personally, I just love the way this looks, plain and simple. When it comes to the pose, this figure is certainly in a defensive posture, what with the front leg sort of splaying out, this back leg outstretched, supporting the weight of the animal, the tail in a clear swinging position. It's definitely getting ready to smack something in the leg with its club, or maybe in the face if it's a smaller predator. But it's not too obvious. The tail is certainly not overly bendy. This is all perfectly reasonable, naturalistic, all achievable for the anatomy and the weight and size of this actual animal in real life. Nothing is overly exaggerated. Nothing is articulating in a way that it wouldn't have been able to in real life. And I like that it's not in your face, just ridiculous with a tail, you know, swinging up into the air or something so it can only be defending itself. The pose is still neutral enough that it appears very believable and realistic, and that's just great because guess what? Dinosaurs spent most of their time walking around and not being big warrior monsters just smacking down other dinosaurs. So it's nice to see a pose that just feels more like something an animal would be achieving and not something that we made up to be cooler than it actually was. When it comes to size, there's not too much to comment on. It's about the size that you would expect. Here it is with the Eutyrannus and also the Sauropelta. It's quite a bit bigger than the Sauropelta. They are both appropriately wide-bodied animals, so it's great to have a couple of very accurate Ankylosaurs. I also would like to bring in, for no particular reason other than the fact that I happen to see them on my shelf and think, why not? Here's a baby Pteranodon, and there is a Good Luck Minis Spinosaurus. There we go, frickin' perfect. And also I want to bring in the old Carnegie Ankylosaurus, just to do a little bit of a time passage comparison showing how Safari has improved over the years, as I like to do when I have figures where that works. As you can see, the old one is much thinner, inaccurately so. The feet are pillar-like and elephantine. The armament is placed relatively the same, but the newer one is in more up-to-date orientation overall, and it's just incredible because, like, here's the thing. There's plenty of companies where you can go back, find a bad figure, and then say, look how much they've improved over the years. But the thing is, this thing is not bad. It came out in, okay, we're doing this live. When did it come out? I'm checking the bottom. 2004. 2004. This thing is more than a decade old. Well over, in fact. And it's still a really nice looking figure and one of the better Ankylosaurus figures around. But this thing blows it out of the water. That's the thing about Safari, is they've been making good figures on some caliber of good or another for a long time, and yet they still keep getting better. That's really the crux of Safari's level of quality, in my opinion, is that they aren't a bad company that got good. They've pretty much been good since the beginning, and they continue to improve as time passes, and they just don't frickin' stop. It's incredible. So my final rating for the 2018 Safari Ankylosaurus is a 10 out of 10. The sculpt is virtually flawless, and while I see what people are saying about the paint job and color scheme, I personally think that all looks great. Overall, this has gotta be the best Ankylosaurus figure on the market today, and I'd say it's my second favorite 2018 Safari figure, second only to the beautiful Mastodon. If you'd like to purchase this truly jaw-dropping Ankylosaurus or any of Safari's products, you can do so at safariltd.com or at amazon.com/safariltd. And for any purchase you make off of safariltd.com specifically, you can use the discount code Bionic to get 10% off of it. Doesn't matter what you get, if you haven't done it yet, make sure to do that. Thank you for watching, and BionicleSaurus signing out.